minute until showtime. One minute until showtime. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
You got to have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man, and it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm gonna pop a top in your honor. Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence, and now we want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a 3-time world champion in women's ice hockey, and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan. I always have been. And to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me. And just the support, and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area. And you could feel that there at that game.
Now, here's Sports on the Hill podcast.
That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, TRU RADIO Network, bringing you the best DC sports talk coverage around in the area, covering all of your DC sports team and sports in general. We got the Caps playing tonight. We got a live look-in game that we'll be giving you updates on any scoring from the team, from the league's hottest team right now, playing some good hockey, 13-2-3, leading the league in so many categories. You got John Carlson doing his thing. You got a 2-0 week we're going to break down and recap. I see we already got Anna K and Robbie G on the line, so we're going to talk about Capitals, of course. We're going to talk some Wizards, get some NBA roundtable going on tonight. We've been neglecting the Wizards' slow start to the season, but we definitely going to get the guys to talk about some of the Wizards' things that's going on. We mentioned before how they had a tough start to the season, and I'm sure those guys will break it down later on tonight. And then we'll have Redskins talk around 8 o'clock with Dujanay calling in after the bye week and talking about the upcoming game versus the Jets. But before we go any further, as always, I'd like to thank you, the listeners, the contributors, the fans, everyone that tunes in the Sports on the Hill podcast on Monday night, even going through some of the restrictions I'm going through now, having a broadcast on the SportsOTHP page instead of my personal page. but you can also check us out on YouTube. You can check out Robbie's feed. I'm sure he has his streaming also. He'll be sharing his to the Capitals group with hopefully a live look at scoreboard. You know, Robbie gets fancy with it. So he's trying to get everything up and running now. But like I said, we'd like to thank all of you guys. We're over 1,500 likes, closing in on 1,600. You guys have been checking out the videos, checking out the live feeds we've been doing. We definitely appreciate that. Me and Robbie was looking over the numbers the last couple of weeks, and we've had one of our best months of engagement of you guys checking out our stuff, liking it, sharing, and engaging with us. Appreciate that. So please keep that up. Let your folks know we got some good DC sports media out here, unlike some of these other stations out here that claim they talk DC sports but really don't know in the world they're talking about. But let me go ahead and get Robbie G on the line and see how he doing tonight. See if he got his feet up and running. Robbie, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to do some stuff on the fly real quick, see if it's working. I'm not even sure if I am live streaming yet, but I think I've started. Yeah, I'll share that in just a second. I'm trying to put a scoreboard. Of course, the scoreboard breaks right before we go live. Things like that happen. It's live radio. You never know what's going to happen. So
yes, indeed.
I'm excited to be here. I've got a lot to talk about. Great hockey this past week. We have a hockey game on tonight. We've got the Wizards roundtable. Hopefully a lot of people on that. And I'll have you guys talk some Redskins a little later as well. So a big show for sure.
Yeah, we can get back to, kind of normal after the World Series, championship. And I'm sure the Nats are still celebrating. I know we've been still celebrating. But, yeah, we got to get on to the other sports that's going on. And I don't know if everyone remembers my bold prediction at the beginning of the cap season, but I feel like this team is going to, make some noise this year. So I like the way they're starting out, points in 11 straight games. Have a game against Arizona, who's currently on a 3-game losing streak. The second line is playing phenomenal. Wilson, Rana, and Kuzi playing out of their minds right now. I was looking at a stat. They in the last 7 games, last 3 games, Kuzi has 7 points, and Wilson, me and Robbie, we talked about it offline. He's the only player in the league with a power play goal, shorthanded goal, and an overtime game winner in the NHL right now. So the second line is doing the damn thing. So it's a beautiful thing to see. Let me go ahead and bring in Anna before we get too much deeper in this, because it's a beautiful thing to watch this team playing like they're playing. Anna, how you doing tonight?
So fantastic, and it is a very beautiful thing to see. Oh my gosh. I just feel like they're kind of clicking. We're seeing that chemistry, and I'm good with it. I know Gil has said on our podcast before, he was cautious about getting too excited this early into the season, and I was like, just go. Game by game, let it go, let things fall into place. And so for me, it's good. I've got this game tonight, a podcast with you guys, and the Niners play Monday Night Football. It's a good trifecta in the Knox household.
Hey, sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
Before we get too far into it, I do want to piggy off what you were just saying, Carol. I was looking at the numbers earlier about Tom Wilson, and I know that Anna always likes the Tom Wilson segment.
I do.
Is doing better than every player on the Penguins team, except for 1 in goals and 1 in points. And I know that they always just thought of him as this thug person that only could be one-dimensional. And it really shows putting him on that special fast line with Verana and Kuzi. That line has been deadly because, the worry is when you put TJ Oshie, Nicholas Backstrom, and Ovechkin all in one line, it's kind of like putting all your eggs in one basket. And it's why I think that during our championship run in 2018, they tried to stay away from that so that way they could have 2 lines going. And, Kuzi's taken on himself to make Verana and Tom Wilson look amazing, and he's doing a great job of it. And Tom Wilson's points speak for themselves, and he's just really, really playing phenomenal. And he has actually the most game-winning goals, I believe, of the Capitals, and I learned that statistic because of the Power Play Point podcast. That was so great. So,
and there you go. See how we're it's like Kevin Bacon. We're all connected. But he is just having a fantastic season so far, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I feel like this this is the leader that we needed to see in Tommy, and he's come out and man, when they showed just the highlights of some of his hits, you can't help but like what would it be like to go up against that on the ice? And he's just knocking people down, but you know what? He's not getting angry, and I was really hoping. I don't know if you guys saw it, the warm up of the night, but I wish he was mic'd up with Reeves because they exchanged a couple words and nothing hostile. You know, Reeves came over to him, and I was dying to know what it was that they said to each other. And of course, you know, people on social media had a very funny, like, oh, they're exchanging recipes. I'm pretty sure that's not what it is, but but it's good to see that he's doing well, and I think he's going to be one for other players to look up to.
Well, talking about
I didn't
that,
actually notice any of that live. It was funny though, watching the memes and stuff later.
well, it's definitely that Vegas game was more rowdy than I expected it to be. So I don't know if they took the advice of Wilson not really getting into it, but there were a lot of tie-ups in that game and a lot of pushing. I know we're definitely going to talk about that game, especially with you being there live, Robbie. It was like a more of a rivalry game. I think they still salty about that 4-game losing streak in the Stanley Cup when they got to celebrate on Vegas home ice, I guess.
Actually, and they've lost a bunch in Washington in a row because they lost last year in their quote-unquote revenge game here because I went to that one as well. So definitely losing 2 in a row, and that was the rubber match game, at least for me, in the 3 regular season games. So now they've won 2 out of 3, which is awesome, and I'll definitely take that one loss that first year for the 2018 victory that they got at the end. Let's get into it. I'm going to put the scoreboard. The stats right now aren't coming up just right, but we'll just put the schedule up for now, and then if I can get a live scoreboard once the game's going, I'll add that. But break down that Panthers game first for us, Anna, and then we'll get into that Golden Knights one.
Yeah, no problem. So last week the Caps flew down to Florida to take on the Panthers, and 25 seconds into the first period, Carlson scores his 8th. With assist by Kempney, which was his 7th, and Ovechkin's 9th, which is insane. So Florida goes on to score twice to close out the first, and 27 seconds into the second, giving them a 3-1 lead. However, the captain scores twice in 6 minutes with a power play goal assisted by Kuzi, and Carlson's 17th assist. And then a tip-in, assisted by Orlov and Backstrom to tie it up 3-3. And at 18:59, the Panthers get the lead to end the second. But 44 seconds into the third, Wilson scores his 6th, assisted by Kuzi. And now it's 4-4 and heading into overtime. But here we go, 17 seconds. Tom Wilson scores with the wrister, and the Caps win 5-4. This is a great game. I don't think people, fans, whomever, really thought that Florida was one that we kind of had to watch out for. But this is a good game. It was, not a lot of fighting, not a lot of penalties, but the boys are good, and it's always great to see a comeback. So we know that they definitely have it in them to show that second half hockey strength that we didn't see so much last year. I feel like they came out very strong in the first and second period and then kind of petered out in the third. I think we're starting to see them come out a little bit stronger towards the end, which in this game definitely benefited us.
Yeah, it was
I want to get your take.
Yeah, it was definitely a very entertaining game. Florida always plays the Caps tough because remember they were in the good old Southeast Division before they moved into the Atlantic and Cap stayed in Metro. So they've always played the Caps tough. They even took some of the Caps players after Eric Ferry ended up down there and a couple of other ex-Caps ended up down there with Florida. But they're an interesting team. They're definitely getting their thing together. They still haven't figured it all out, but they always play the Caps tough. And Wilson, it's like you said, Robbie. It's a beautiful thing to watch to see him mature as a player. not just be a so-called goon. You always mention how the offensive numbers he had in college, and now he's showing that. He's on a line with two other dynamic playmakers in Rana and Kuzi, and he's rising to it just like we saw him rise to the occasion when he was on the top line with Nicky and Ovi. So, I mean, he's a key piece to it. That's why they locked him down and signed him to the contract that they did. And I'm loving, what I'm seeing. And, Rana, last year you saw the maturation of him after the Cup. Him stepping his game up. Unfortunately, in the playoffs in the first round, he didn't really, shine. But you see he's making up for that at the beginning of this season, the way he's playing and the way that whole line is playing. So we're seeing the quality depth. Some folks say, you're peaking early. We've seen this before, but this is a different team. They're playing solid defense. They're, quality goaltending, and they're leading the league in scoring along with, playing solid defense. And as you mentioned, come from behind. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from this team. Robbie, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. Incredible. I thought I was really happy that they scored. It happened too quickly in overtime, though. I went to go grab something for Liz upstairs, and I thought to myself as I was starting to walk the stairs, I was like, watch something happen so quick that by the time I get down, it will already be done. And it took me only 10 seconds, and I heard the goal horn go off. I was like, well, we won, so that's good.
It was a great play. It was a great play, though.
It was. I came down and watched it a million times afterwards, but I can't say I watched it live, which bummed me out a little bit. But I'll take the result for sure. And I think Tom Wilson was incredible, and I mean John Carlson's just setting people up, and the different people. Like I think Carlson who had the assist on that one, and anyway, but like the team is just clicking on all cylinders, and it was a good thing to see because I really wanted that win streak going into Saturday's game.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's in that overtime, it was great.
To talk. I feel like I'm.
Go ahead. It was that overtime goal, and we always mention how a critical save by the goalie leads to offense and the goal on the other side, and it's amplified in the overtime because it's only 3-on-3. So once Braden made that beautiful save, and Wilson was there playing defense, he saw Kuzi with the puck. Or Carlson with the puck, and then he realized he had to get up ice, and it was a beautiful feed, and boom, score, game over, 17 seconds in the overtime. That's that's hockey in a nutshell right there.
Absolutely, and so much better when it's your team that's doing it. It's like
yes.
It was the Cup.
Yeah.
So it was a good one. So Robbie, do you want me to go over the nice game, or do you want to go over it?
I'll go over it. I'll just pull up the footage I have real quickly on my screen and then sort of break it down a little bit, and then I won't do too much of a play-by-play all throughout it. If people want to go back and check that out, I did a video earlier today during lunchtime, my lunch break. See if I can get this to appear correctly. Okay, I think it's just a little big, but it's almost perfect. All right. So anyway, so I had a really good time overall. I got to meet some fans from the Power Play Point podcast and from Sports on the Hill podcast there at the game, so that was really cool. I really loved it from the very beginning. I think that their opening show that they have now, especially with the big monitors and all the different extra screens. I don't know, Carol, if you've seen some of the stuff, but they've got a big screen in each of the four corners now. They've got wrapping screens, and they've got this big jumbotron that's gigantic. And so it was I'm actually putting a shot of the big one on the screen right now. But, yeah, it was just really amazing. Obviously, Kuzi coming in and scoring right away is awesome, so I'll play that celebration in goal now. But I couldn't believe that we scored a minute into it, and what a great deep move, and then to get around him, and just speed kills. It was a great pass, up the seam, but just an even better goal, and obviously I love the celebration. Getting to see him do the bird celly in person is always a lot of fun. Then the second goal was Tom Wilson, which was a goal as well. And so this one, as you can see here, it was a great pass by Verana over, and he just sort of wristed it home. And it's just a really beautiful goal. It was his 8th goal this season, which is awesome at 13-19, so not that much further into it. And then Jonas Siegenthaler got a goal, which was really cool to see his first goal. He's been playing much better the last couple of weeks. And so it was great to see him get one home. It was a great pass across the ice, and then he just shot it to the other corner. Just a really beautiful goal by a defensive player who's really, I'm just happy he got on the board. And then the next 2 goals are both by Nicholas Backstrom. The first one is a pretty awesome goal. It was, I'll show you the replay right here. Let me see if I can, well, here they are coming to the bench. But the goal was as follows. Basically, it was a wrist shot that trickled through. And it was funny watching Ovechkin from the other side, watch it kind of come through. And it was a power play goal. And he was celebrating before it even crossed the line. Ovechkin knew that was going to be a goal. And then Nicholas Backstrom does some work. I'll skip ahead to this goal, but this was kind of a cool shot. It's one of the very few times I've ever been able to get a footage of a goal live without just getting the replay. Nicholas Backstrom just, leans everything he has into it from the red center dot and gets an empty net goal, which was a beautiful thing because we all know that Nicholas Backstrom is one of my favorite players on the Capitals, and then we celebrate with handshakes. So the experience was great. Got to meet a lot of people, got pictures, and I really just had a wonderful, wonderful time. It's one of the best experiences I got to have with my dad. I got to teach the kid next to me all about hockey, which was really cool. And we'll start off with Anna. What were your overall thoughts? And I'll get Carol's take.
Oh, sure. I loved it. I happened to be throwing a surprise, kind of pseudo-surprise birthday party for my husband, and it's that day. But people had been taking off basically around 7:30, so I had an opportunity to watch this. And anytime it comes with Vegas nights, there's always that kind of bitterness where you're like, oh, I just hate these guys. And again, like I was kind of expecting, Reeves to do something terrible, like target Oshie or Vrana or something like that, and it didn't seem to happen, which was good because it's like I'd like to see them play hockey. I don't need to see some wrestling match and boxing match or whatever it is out there. It's like, let's just be, come on, grow up and play and do what you're supposed to do, but of course drop the gloves if necessary. But I loved this. I thought it was exciting. I think, Robbie, I agree with you. Seeing the sallies from Kuzi is always a good thing. I think that's every time he scores or even has an assist, I think that's what fans of his prior to that whole ridiculous thing that went down beforehand needed to see that, he's still into it. He's not giving up on the Capitals, and he's going to do the best he can to kind of, if he has to quote unquote redeem himself, he certainly has. But my highlight, honestly, even though Tommy scored, my highlight was seeing Sieg score. I think that he has he's like calmed down a little bit. He was never like a, kind of impulsive player, but I think he really came into his own, needed this first NHL goal, and I think we're going to see many more great plays from this kid. So that to me was an awesome highlight.
Yeah, definitely his first career goal was nice. He, like Robbie said, he had a great slap shot link right into it. And the key to it was he didn't just sit back on the blue line, that he got up into the play and pinched down. At first, last year, you would have saw him just stay back on the blue line and not, come up to take that shot. But you can, like you say, like we talked about earlier, the maturation of John Carlson rubbing off on, other players also. Siegenthaler was more of a defensive defenseman, but now he's stepping up into the play, making these plays, and got his first goal, and definitely playing some good hockey. Going back to Nicky, that shot, we saw kind of a similar play from Ovi the game before when he just got it to the net and it kicked off the goalie's inside leg because he surprised the goalie by taking a shot in the position he was in. So, it was good to see Nicky get those 2 goals, especially under netter. But we got to talk about the takedown heard around the arena from TJ Oshie when he I don't know what player it was, but he cross-checked Nikki at the end of the second, and Oshie put a WWE move on him and just yoked him straight to the ice, which was one of the many let's say fisticuffs almost that broke out in that game. But it was definitely a good game to see. You know, a lot, like I said, it was a lot of scrums and a lot of face washes and folks getting gloves to the face and punches thrown that didn't get called. But it was definitely a good rivalry game, and you can tell that Vegas is still a little upset about that butt whipping the Cats put on them. Because looking back, if you want to really think about it, that game one was a gift when Reeves did that cross check and got him that goal late. They gave him the victory in game one. Or they could have got swept like, the Nats swept St. Louis in the NLCS. I've still got World Series, man. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
So real quickly, I want to go back to that physicality thing that you mentioned. So I've actually just queued up another video, which is a little bit different, but it showcases the physicality and the great play by TJ Oshie. He had a clean hit down by the boards, and the other team really took exception to that. And then they tried to really, it's of course stuttering right now, but they tried to fight him, and somebody came from behind and cross-checked him, and they were just trying to get dirty. They're trying to get under their skin, and I got to give TJ Oshie a lot of credit. He was giving it, but he wasn't taking it to the point where it was going to cause an issue. So I've now actually slowed it down to show the cross check that was right in his back, right in front of the referee, and they didn't call anything. It was pretty late into the game, so I think that was why. But it was pretty chippy throughout the entire game. I noticed that from the beginning, everyone was saying it's kind of almost like it's a playoff game. So it was definitely an exciting game to be at, and I really do kind of feel like this is kind of the Pittsburgh of the West Coast for the Capitals now, which I didn't expect. I kind of thought, we beat them in the Stanley Cup, but it won't really be a rivalry because we don't play each other that often. But no, there's definitely a lot of bad blood between these two teams.
Oh yeah,
Definitely. I mean, they had a great run on their inaugural season, did something that hadn't been done before. Making it, I think they had done it once before, I think they said. But to get there and, the Caps in their Cinderella story, they're going to be a little upset about that, especially, the way the Caps pretty much dominated them in that series. And we're starting to see that from this team right now. I mean, true, we've seen starts like this from teams of the past, and they falter in the playoffs and yada, yada. Ooh, nice hit. And they falter in the playoffs. But this is a different team right now. With the leadership, as we talked about, with Oshie, Nikki, and Ovi, doing all the things that they've done, being together so long, that core, it's like a whole different team right now, mentality that they know what it takes to get there to win it all. So it's all about just doing it. So I don't have a problem with them being this playing this well right now and thinking that it'll fizzle out down the line. They're in a tough Metro division. There's a lot of parity out there in the league, and teams are still looking at the Caps as one of the top teams in the league, especially with their record right now. So I really don't have an issue with, the way they're playing right now. I'm not saying it's an issue, but worried about it, costing in the future or down the line or whatever. I think this team is primed, and I made my guarantee at the beginning of the season, and I'm sticking with it.
I love
100%.
that. Yeah. So,
what about this Orlov hit, though?
That was a good. Orlov has got out of my doghouse. Orlov this season has got out of my doghouse. He's always been on my doghouse list, and I've always watched him very closely. But with Brooks Orpik being gone now and the stuff that he learned, he's actually playing a lot better at the start of this season.
I think that's
you sound like
because I was. Yeah, she was talking about how she doesn't like Orlov, and they actually talked about it on their show about a lot of damn it Orlov. And I think he's had some up and down moments throughout the seasons. I come in between. I've obviously been an Orlov apologist for a very long time. I do think that he has played better, but there are still moments where he regresses.
Yeah, some dumb penalties, yeah.
Yes, for sure. So
that's just it. That's my frustration where you see it and you're like, damn it, Orlov. Like, what's just that? Like, you think for his status and his skills, and he wouldn't be making such stupid penalties, but every once in a while you can kind of always count on an Orloff penalty moment in the game and be like, typical. So yeah, I'm not a fan. Like I said, I hope he humbles me at some point, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna wear that number 9 jersey, but I am nowhere near that right now.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not my favorite player, but like I said, I've been super critical of him. He's made some mistakes. He's, he wants to jump. He wants to me, it's like he wants to be more of a Mike Green type defenseman, which we don't need. He wants to jump up into the play and make something happen, which is cool. But you got to know when to do that, and sometimes he just takes the wrong chances at the wrong times. Sometimes he need to sit back instead of him jumping up into the play. But he's still young, so I mean, hopefully he'll learn that, and knowing that now with Gudis out there and Carlson, flourishing like the way he is, hopefully he starts taking more of the defensive aspect that we've seen Carlson mature into, along with the offensive side of the game. And not Carlson isn't forcing it; it's just coming to him. Granted, he's on the power play, and that gives him a chance to get more points and everything. But he takes his time. He doesn't try to force the game, and that's what I think Orloff does sometimes. What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he definitely has some great offensive abilities, and I think his shot is actually very similar to Ovechkin's in the sense that it can be like this really heavy shot that can also take a weird or crazy bounce. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Ovi actually works with him on his shot, because I do see a lot of similarities in the setup for it. Obviously, no one has a shot like Ovechkin, but he has that sort of ability to have these great shots from the point, and I think that's important. I think that he also is a pretty good setup man. He's made some pretty decent assists this year as well. But I agree there are some lapses on the defensive side where there's some question marks still. So Arizona's unfortunately on the power play, so talking about defense needing to step up. This game is still 0-0 with 8:45 left in the first. But just in general, I'm happy that we have Orloff, but I definitely understand why people have their concerns over the time.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We actually got hey, Rob, do you want to screen this call, or you want to bring this call in hot? We got a call on the line. I'm not sure who this is, unless you recognize the number on the board.
Yeah, I'll check this. I'll check it out for you.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get into the upcoming schedule as the Caps kill off this power play for another 1:08. Currently, they're playing Arizona at home, trying to get a victory in a 7th straight game and points in 12 straight. Then they'll be going to Philly on Wednesday for a 7:30 puck drop. Then they'll be back home versus Montreal on Friday, my birthday, versus Montreal at 7. I'll be watching that game. I'll be not sure where I'll be at, but I'll have a bottle in hand and watching it, no doubt. And then they have a back-to-back.
Happy place. That's all that matters.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You already know. And on the 16th, the Saturday, a back-to-back, they'll be at Boston at 7 o'clock for the puck drop. So it's definitely going to got some back-to-backs. And we didn't even get to talk about Hopi and Samsonov. We already got some of the guys on the line for the round table. I guess we can dibble-dabble a little bit into the goalie situation before we get to the Wizards round table. I know we talked about Hopi having a contract year, and what are they going to do? They're going to keep him around, or what Samsonov does. And he's actually 5-1, playing some solid hockey. And with the back-to-back coming up this weekend, look like he's going to get some action also. What do you think about the goalie situation, Anna, before I get Robbie's take?
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. I think in the beginning we were kind of in fans were in a panic mode on, Hopi's doing this. And there was a moment where he kind of, the game got in his head and he wasn't playing like Hopi's. We were kind of like, what's going on with him? But then he makes these amazing saves, and as soon as that becomes consecutive, and you have to ride that. And so I think when you have a Braden Holtby and you have a Sammy playing, it's a great balance. I think that where we're at right now with goalies, as much as I liked Phoenix Copley, I think that they made the right call with bringing Sammy in. I've been impressed tonight. I mean, tonight, even like watching a couple of his saves, like, yeah, hell yeah, he's on it.
Ooh.
He looks to me like a very intense goalie. Not the rest of them aren't, but he seems very focused, very on it, and so I like him. I think putting him in tonight was a really good call by the coaches, because I don't know, going up against the Flyers, when you have to go up against Carter Hart, I don't know. Like he's another great goalie, but maybe put Holtby in then, because it is the Flyers. I mean, you just don't know how the fan base is going to be and whatever in Pennsylvania. But I think of course that's too soon. I just saw they scored.
Yeah, I was as you were talking about Samsonov, I saw the play breakdown. The Caps had opportunity on the other end, and as we talked about in the overtime game, how defense turned to offense, and they were able to get the score. And as right after they scored, the Caps went on the attack and forced the power play. They're still in the zone. They probably about to pull the goalie to try to get an extra man on, while Kuzi's just skating around. He throws it to a vacant corner. You got pass it across. See if the Caps going to try to get a goal with a delayed penalty. They holding the puck. Oh, it's going to be interesting, because they gave up that goal off of a busted. He almost walked his way through on that one. How they didn't blow the whistle? I was about to say how they didn't blow the whistle on that. Yeah, the Caps got a penalty from getting the hustle on after giving up that first goal. Definitely, hopefully the Caps can get an answer on this power play, because they definitely want to answer back with this late in the first period.
Yeah. So, Robbie, was there a caller or question?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that was kind of incredible, just in how we didn't score there and how they didn't blow the whistle, and then they did when maybe they shouldn't have. That whole entire scenario just then was pretty crazy, but I am happy we're going to go in the power play here. I think the team is really dangerous that we're playing right now. Their defense is really good. They actually allow one of the fewest goals against, I believe, in the league, so it's definitely a team that we shouldn't be overlooking. But overall, it's going to be a tough week with the Flyers, the Canadians, and the Bruins. So I'm hoping to go 2-2 during this week. I did get a live scoreboard going. Unfortunately, whenever I get that going, then they score on us. So that's disappointing. One time I want to put a scoreboard up on our screen where we're actually leading in the game. Yeah, overall, I think that's been a good time for the Caps so far. I think that they're kind of due for a little bit of a letdown at some point. I don't think they're going to run the table and win 17 in a row. Because the parity in the league. So hopefully they can find a way in this power play right now to come back and score the tying goal, and we'll have a better end of the night than the start to the game. But overall, I'm just really proud of how the Capitals have been playing.
Yeah, no doubt. They should be. Like I said, I feel like they're going to score on this power play. They got the momentum. Like you said, they had an opportunity that didn't work on the other end, and they got I'm not even going to say a lucky goal, but a good bounce off of a nice play and a misplay of a puck. So it's still early. And the other stat that I heard, that the Caps have scored in every second period of every game this season. So even if they don't get the answer right here, don't worry, the second period, they're definitely going to get a goal, because that's what they've been doing all season.
I'm so happy that you say this in the game after I went, because for a second there, I thought in my game that the streak was going to end, and then I was like, no, dang it, they're going to score at the end of this period, and I'm super happy that I was right. So at least, no matter what, it made it past that game, and hopefully you're right, and it continues tonight as well. Oh, Ovechkin from The Office just blasted it. A minute 30 left in this power play, but they're buzzing. They're playing really well. I think a goal is coming. I definitely see what you're saying, Carol. I mean, they're doing all the right things. It's just their goaltending has been pretty good so far. We just got to get a couple of more shots on rebounds. I think that'll be a big difference for us as well. So overall, we've got a minute and 10 seconds left in this power play. Obi tries to hit it out of the air. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But they have a shorthanded opportunity. But luckily, Sam was great.
That leads to offense.
One thing I do want to talk about. That's
That's a takedown. That should be
That's
2
not
points.
cool.
That's 2 points in wrestling. It's supposed to be a penalty in hockey.
I know, that should be interference. But overall, I just, I think we're doing all the right things, in this power play. So Samson, have we talked about this, that he's won all of his first 5 games? I don't remember if we started.
Yeah, we just talked about his 5-1 start, and the one game that he took the loss was when Hopi got pulled.
Right, so that's actually a record for the Capitals, winning 5 in a row to start your career. So, game started, so that's pretty impressive. Hopefully he can continue that streak tonight, but it's pretty cool that in all the goalies that the Capitals have ever had, no one's ever done that. So it gives me hope for the future, no matter what we end up deciding to do, with this whole entire situation with Seattle and who to protect and all that. Unfortunately, that power play just went by the wayside. Carol, any final thoughts on any of the upcoming games before we shift gears?
No, I'm thinking this team is going to stay hot. I give them 3-1 out of the 4 games this week. I think that they're in a groove. They're never out of a game. They even if it comes down to having to pull the goalie to get a late goal to tie it up or sustain a 1-goal lead, late in the game after they've come back or whatever they need to do, I think they're going to be fine and just keep on playing like they're playing. As long as they stay healthy, I don't see nothing, slowing this team down. And they've been generally healthy, and hopefully they stay that way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Anna, I loved your episode that you guys recorded yesterday. I highly recommend people go check it out, SportsOTHP.com. Click the Power Play Point podcast button. You can play it right there. You can catch up on all the previous shows. You guys have been awesome to us. Thank you for all the shout-outs you do on your show as well. And anything else that you want to let people know before we let you go tonight?
No. We love being on with you guys, and Gil, it's a completely different dynamic with Gil, so that's what makes me excited about podcasts every Sunday and Monday. But I don't know. I'm hoping to go on the little Carol wave and think that we could go 3-1 this upcoming week. I think, I don't know, there's a side of me that just thinks that Boston is that's going to be the hardest game because it's in Boston and of course who their players are. So it's like, don't even get me started on that. It's like a whole other episode. But I do feel like that's, those are kind of going back to old enemy territory, and I think that's the one that's really going to give us a run for our money, even though, the Flyers, whatever, and the Canadians, they put Carey Price in between the types. That's something to be said, but I think that our really 60 minutes of hockey and the penalty minutes coming up and everything else is really going to be towards Boston more than any of the other teams.
For sure. Well, hopefully you guys are right. I'm still going with my unfortunate 2-2 prediction, but
I mean, 2-2 is not a bad week. That's 500. That's not a bad week.
Okay. Well,
No.
Yeah. Well, then the less optimistic. So
But Rob, but yeah, like Mike Gill on the Sports on the Hill. So
exactly. Every show needs somebody, to be the balance. You can't be all positive all the time.
True. So no, it's all good. But thanks again for another fun episode. And gosh, next week we'll be talking about 4 games, and let's hope for some exciting stuff going into this next week. Oh man. And we didn't even talk about Panic, however you say his name, coming back tonight. So that'll be another. Let's see how he does now that he's back on the ice.
Well, before he got hurt, he had 0 points, so we'll see what he does.
Let's hope, because I know people are making puns out of the name and everything already, but I just kind of want to see him play really good hockey and get back into it.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need that secondary scoring. He's a 20-goal scorer that played with Arizona last year. So it's ironic that they get him in the lineup tonight against Arizona. So hopefully he can maybe get a goal and as his first goal as a Capital, because the first 8 games he played before he got hurt, he hadn't registered a point. So hopefully he can get one tonight and get the Caps back in this game.
And do it, and then, in your face, they'll Kessel. Have one of those moments. celebratory moments in front of Castle. But anyways, have a great evening. Thanks for having me on, and I know, enjoy your, gosh, the Redskins had a bye, and no more baseball, so you guys have, you have basketball.
Yeah, got Wizards and Redskins to talk about still. Not so good, but the bad and the ugly, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, and we'll see how the Niners do tonight against Seattle. I'm like, oh boy, like we're riding this kind of crazy wave of being undefeated, but you know, it's like the coach I hate more than anything in the NFL, and I gotta watch it tonight and see. We'll see how things go for my Niners. But have a great evening, and I will talk to you guys next week.
I appreciate it. Have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Alrighty, bye.
All right, we appreciate Adam taking the time out to talk some Cowboys. I see you got a full board there, Robbie, with the round table talking Wizards, so I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so we've got everybody, but I think Michael Edgley, but he may call in. But we've got 4 people on the round table, so we'll switch to that right now. See if I can get the Cap scoreboard to stay up there while we're talking a little bit of little Wizards talk as well. So let me bring each person in. The first person I'll bring in is Ken, DC People's Champion. Ken, how are you doing tonight?
Robbie G! Woo! I'm so excited to be on the round table with you tonight. I'm sorry, I had to break out my wrestling thing. It's Monday night. I'm sorry. My bad.
I kind of expected that you might. So I'm happy that you delivered. So, you know, that's what I expect from the People's Champion. So the next person we'll bring in is our stats guy, Arun. How are you doing tonight, Arun?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to be on the day after RG3 got to play in the fourth quarter.
A subtle dig at Carol.
Damn it, Arun. You had to go there. He also ran a read option, too, and got positive yards, damn it. I was watching the game. Damn you, Arun.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. So, all right, next we've got Brian Brennan, our resident, just overall NBA expert, also a fan of the New York Knicks, who are in a similar predicament at the start of this season. How are you doing tonight, Brian?
Good. We both have 2 wins, so kind of that's something.
It's something. Towards the bare minimum in basketball, but it is something. So the next person we're going to bring in is a good friend of the show, definitely a Wizards, part of our Wizards Roundtable every season. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, the Wizards suck, but they do have more wins than the Redskins, so you gotta look at it positively.
That is true. They also play a lot more games, so I hope they get a lot more wins.
I don't know, man, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ken, I'm going to start with you just because before the season started, we had you on a Redskins talk, and you had the Wizards doing much better than at least this start. You're not always on our Wizards Roundtable, so I want you to have the floor to start the show. What are your thoughts on the Wizards start to this season?
I think that the record isn't indicative of the play of the team, and I say this like this because if you look at the first 6 games of the season, the one thing that shows that things are bad would be every one of their losses they've allowed over 100 points. The only 2 times they didn't were the 2 times they won, OKC and Detroit. So the main focus has got to be, and this is what plagued them a couple of years ago when they got onto a slow start before surging forward to make the playoffs. Defense. They've got to play defense. You can't win in this league if every night out they already come in the gym knowing they can score at least 100 on you. It's impossible. So they have to learn to play defense, keep teams under 100 points to be able to win. That's basically the long and the short of it. Like, you look at the record makes it look like they're trash, but if they can keep teams under 100 points, they're not as bad as they seem. I still believe that the team is going to be at least a 40 to 45 win team because they got all the tools.
Interesting. All right, Arun, I'm going to go and get your opinion next. What are some of your thoughts on this?
I think the defense is definitely a problem. They give 159 points to the Rockets, but I don't think they really have the defensive solution on their roster, specifically at the point guard position when they got rid of Satoransky. They got Ishmael, who's a nice backup, but I think I was in my predictions on my blog, I had the Wizards finishing with 28 wins, and the Vegas over-under was 27 wins going into the season. And I think even if they hold their opponents to under 110 points, that'll be progress given the fast pace of the NBA. But they're giving up like 120 points in the case of the Houston Rockets, 159 points in a regulation game, which is pretty ridiculous. And they almost gave up more than 144 points to the Timberwolves, which would have been a team record to the Minnesota team. So I think if Washington, they just need to play their young guys. Don't overplay Beal. Don't try to kill him because I don't think they're really going to do anything this season, and hope for a really good draft pick next season.
That all makes sense. All right, Brian, I want to get your opinion since you're more of a general NBA fan of the Knicks and not from the Wizards' perspective. What are some of your thoughts on the early go of it for the Wizards?
Yeah, everything you guys have said has been accurate so far. There are some very nice pieces on this Wizards team. In particular, I'm a big fan of some of the new guys like Isaiah Thomas and Mo Wagner, just seeing what they can do as well. But the defense just isn't there, and it cost them dearly this season in games. Like you mentioned, the Rockets game, Arun, that's a game that when you score 158 points, that's a game that you should definitely win. And to not win it is just absolutely crazy. And, you mentioned holding teams under 100 points. There's only so many times in which you're going to be able to hold an opponent up to under 100 points. And, we saw it earlier this week when they played the Pistons, but it only happens every so often. So, I think I agree. I tend to agree more with what Arun said, where they're playing more for a good draft pick next year. They have some nice teams. It's not like it's, an unwatchable team. There's definitely watchable players on the Wizards this year. But, I just don't see any situation unless they dramatically improve on defense in which, they remotely come close to the playoffs. So that's just me.
Yeah. Tim, let's get into some of the games real quick this past week. So while we were on air last week, they were beating Detroit, and they ended up winning that game. Tim, what were some of your thoughts on things that you liked in that win versus Detroit?
One thing I like about the team in general is just we're getting a lot of great plays from Hachimura and Thomas Bryant in general, and they played pretty well in that game as well. Also, obviously, Beal, like normal, was the leading scorer. So for me, I don't really care so much about the win-loss record because I'm assuming we're not going to make the playoffs or even get that close. But if they can just develop some of the younger guys and get a lot of minutes out of them, that's really going to set us up for next year because Wall will be back, and he might be somewhere close to what he was. So that's for me. It's just get those guys some minutes, have them play well. Don't really give the veterans a ton of time. Just try to eke out some wins because long term it's not really as important as development.
Makes sense. All right. So, DC People's Champ, what were some of your thoughts in that loss? We're going to have to sort of jump through these games a little quickly. Against Indiana, I thought it was an interesting matchup. It was in Indiana, and it wasn't that close, especially in the second quarter. There was a lot of scoring, but many more points for the Pacers. What were some of your thoughts about that game?
I think when you look at that game, you look at the fact that Nate McMillan, made adjustments the way he needed to do. Bradley Beal went out and did what Bradley Beal does, scoring 30 points. But, again, it just goes back to what I said earlier about defense and everything like that. Rui Hachimura, who is your rookie first-round pick, didn't even score in this game, and he played 21 minutes. Didn't get a single score, and he was just starting forward. So that's indicative of some things right there. I mean, yeah, you got Thomas Bryant who scored, Isaiah Thomas scored, but I mean, it was just the whole situation was just a microcosm of not only, again, defense being the catalyst to making sure that you can stay in and win games, but also making sure that your role players and your star players are out there scoring and making plays. And the fact that your rookie forward went over in this game is a tall tale sign of that he needs to be more involved in the game plan.
Yeah. We're going to keep going along here. Arun, some statistics that stood out to you in this Cleveland game, I want to hear those. Also, just overall, I mean, that's a team that had not won on the road yet, and we gave them a victory on the road. I thought that was going to be our, I thought we were going to get 2 wins out of these 3 because of that. What went wrong, and what are some of your thoughts about that Cleveland matchup?
I really think in that Cleveland matchup, Cleveland really killed Washington on the board. Kevin Love had and Tristan Thompson each had 12 rebounds. And I think the Wizards' big men, I guess Rui only had 7 and Thomas Bryant had 8 rebounds. I think that was the difference. Like Cleveland just got to the offensive boards and they really killed Washington the whole game. Thompson had 9 offensive rebounds, which is like, I believe, almost as many as the Wizards had as a team. And Darius Garland, he shot pretty well, 6 of 11. He's their star rookie player. He had 15 points. Rui Hachimura, he was 10 of 13 from the field. He was like on fire, but I think overall Troy Brown was 1 of 8 from the field. CJ Miles 0 of 7. Bertans 1 of 8 from 3-point range. That's not going to get it done, especially when you're really dig a deep hole against yourself against the Cleveland team that dropped off to a 12-2 lead.
Awesome. All right. So looking ahead to the upcoming schedule, I'm going to have each one of you guys break down one of these games. We're going to start off with Brian Brennan, since he knows Boston better than anybody, being a Knicks fan and being in the same division. Going to Boston, 7:30 game on Wednesday. Seems like a tough task for this Wizards team. Help us break that down.
Yeah, the Celtics are off to a great start this season. They're 7-1, and like you said, I see them a lot as a Knicks fan. They already played and beat the Knicks, so I've seen them a little bit, and I fully expect the Celtics to win this game at home. The Celtics have some great players: Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and it'll be tough for the Wizards to contain them and to really match up. I think this is really one of the tougher games for the Wizards so far this season, one of the bigger challenges they've had, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do. I'm not saying the Celtics are like an amazing team or anything, but I do definitely expect them to beat the Wizards on Wednesday.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. All right, continuing, going around the round table. Tim, I'm going to give you Minnesota. What are your thoughts on going to the Timberwolves on Friday at 8 o'clock? Sorry.
I think going into the season, people probably didn't have really high expectations for Minnesota, but it looks like they're playing pretty well so far. They have a winning record. They have Cat, which is probably going to be the best player in the game. They still have Wiggins and Teague, so I don't see us pulling that out. They also killed us in DC already, but you never know. Any team can win night in and night out. So hopefully we can, hold them to less than 130 this time. Give ourselves a chance, maybe keep them to around 110. But I wouldn't bet big on the Wizards in that game.
All right, Ken, we're coming around to you. The next game and the last game on this 3-game road swing that we are on this week is at Orlando. It's a 6 o'clock start on Sunday. What are some of your thoughts on the divisional foe, the Magic?
I mean, the Magic are having about similar struggles as the Wizards. Both teams have a very poor record to start. But I think this is going to be the one game where the Wizards will be able to hold an opponent under 100 points. Again, not to steal from the room swag, but that's just how I am. They currently are ranked 29th in the league in points. When points, they average 98.4 points per game. So they stay at under 100 points most times in the season. So if the Wizards can play well, hit the deep ball, get everybody involved and not just Beal, this one will be a victory for them, and this one will be the one where, again, it will keep the trend going up. When you keep the team under 100 points, you win most of the time.
That makes some sense. All right, so we've gotten through the schedule ahead. The following game will be the next Wednesday after that. That'll actually be my first Wizards game I get to go to, so that'll be against the San Antonio Spurs. We'll break that one down next week. We'll also recap Boston, Minnesota, Orlando road trip as well. I'm going to give every one of you guys one last sort of shout-out or statistic or thing that they want to say. We'll start off with Arun. Any final parting words?
Yeah, in that loss against the Pacers, Beal had 30 points, but he only shot 1 of 12 from three-point range and had 5 free throws. So I don't think that's really that common to have 30 points without making the three as a guard in today's NBA. So that was interesting. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. We look forward to having you on throughout the season as part of our Wizards Roundtable. All right, Brian Brennan, you're next up on the final thoughts. Any final words or anything you want people to know about?
I just want people to know I just created a new Instagram account for all my sports takes. Those of you who don't know, I've been posting sports takes and movie reviews to my Instagram account. Now I've created a separate account for all that. So go ahead and follow that at Brian B Sports Takes on Instagram. Other than that, good luck to the Wizards. Let's go Knicks. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it as always. We look forward to having you on throughout this season as well. All right, next is Tim. Give us the final thoughts. And I just really congratulate you as a big Baltimore Ravens fan. That was an incredible performance, and I'm very jealous of your quarterback situation.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's a great luxury to have RG3 as the backup. I mean, I would say he's not quite as good as Lamar Jackson, but he's probably in that league. I'm just kidding. but no, I mean, for the Wizards, I would say for positives, I think we had a great draft pick this year. I love Rui. I think he's going to do great things in DC. I think it's cool that we have, I think the only Japanese NBA player, one of two maybe. On a negative, it is kind of sad that was their only nationally televised game on Friday night against the Cavs, and they were behind the entire game. So not really a good way to show off nationally, but the season is still young.
Yeah,
so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. That's crazy that was the national television game because both teams are starting so terrible. You got to think that ESPN was kicking themselves when they realized how bad that game was going to be. But we will definitely have you back on throughout the season as well. Thank you so much, Tim, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good night.
All right, and the last person in our team, the newest member, Ken, DC People's Champion. Let people know about the notes pass and let them know any final facts you want us to know about.
That's right. The No Spots Podcast every Friday right here on the TRU RADIO Network. And this coming Friday, we're going to talk about the AEW third pay-per-view Full Gear, which took place in Baltimore, which was a very good pay-per-view. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about the fact that there's another WWE superstar who wants out of WWE. We'll talk about that. Excuse me. And finally, I got to say that the scheduling for this Wizards team so far has been pretty favorable, especially given the fact they were given pretty much 5 days off before this 3-game road trip. So they should come out very refreshed when they go up against Boston on Wednesday and be able to run this one. I say they go maybe they go 2-1 in this road trip. Who knows? But that's all I got. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed having you as part of the roundtable. We'll definitely have you back on throughout the season.
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that, Carol, I will quote-unquote relinquish the floor back to you. And Redskins talk and other stuff, I'm probably going to end my Facebook live stream here, but we'll continue the show and still talk Redskins over on the SportsOTHP Facebook page, as well as on a whole lot of platforms. You can check us out already on our website as well, and I'll get Carol's live feed and my live feed up on there shortly. But Carol, any thoughts before we go into a music break?
Nah, just getting things set up. Wait, just talk to Dujanet. He should be calling through in a minute once we get through the music break. That was a great Wizards segment, breaking down the slow start to the season and see what this team can possibly get together and try to get some things going in the right direction. We've been waiting for that for a long time. Hopefully it could finally come to fruition sooner or later.
For sure. Well, thank you for everyone who was checking out my stream. I'm going to end that one right about now. And, but yeah, I mean, we got a lot of show left. I'm excited to hear yours and Dujanet's take on the Redskins. I'm probably going to jump off and let you guys talk the bye week in the Redskins, but I'll definitely share it to a couple of groups before I go.
All right, no doubt. Well, we're going to get ready to get to the music break on the Blog Talk feed. I'm going to throw a video up on my Facebook Live feed and YouTube feed before we get into Redskins Talk. As always, we appreciate y'all checking us out. We'll be back in about 4 minutes and 36 seconds. I'm going to play The Roots, I Will Not Apologize, and I'm going to throw up an old Nats video on my Facebook Live feed, just looking back at some of the things this team did during this World Series run. Like I told you, I'm still in World Series mode. I'm still loving it, and unfortunately, as we go to break, Arizona just went up 2-0 with 12 seconds into the second period. So Reardon has a look on his face like he might want to challenge. I didn't see the goal, but we're going to go to music break, and I'll give you an update when we get back.
The scoreboard out there, centering the ball. Well, that quieted down the crowd, and now 20 to center. See you later. Yanamin puts a charge into one. Out to deep center. See you 3 in a row. Good. Rendon deep to right. See you 4 in a row. Unbelievable. 4 home runs in a row. All solo shots turn a 1-1 game into a 5-1 game.
And we're back, live from the lab, CP3. Got the live looking game on the Cowboys game. Before we went to break, there was the second goal by Arizona. It looked like Reardon was going to possibly challenge. He didn't, and then not 30 seconds later, Arizona scored again. The Caps are down 3-0, 17 minutes and 14 seconds left in the second. Still plenty of time for this team to come back. We've seen them come back from 5-1 down. So it's possible they can come back from 3-0 down. There's still plenty of time left. But we already talked hockey. I'll give any updates. Go ahead, Robbie.
So that was so frustrating. I just to watch us go from potentially 1-0 down to then 3-0. Like, this is now that letdown game that I was really worried about a few minutes ago. And I know there's plenty of time, but that really deflates you to allow for a second goal. It was one thing to allow the 2-0 I thought we could come back from, but just, it's so disappointing for them. But I'll let you and Duchesne talk football, and hopefully we'll have brighter things in the future for the Redskins. My question to you guys to talk about is, how many wins do you guys want to see from the team, and does wins matter anymore? So that's my question to you guys to talk about.
No, definitely. I've already addressed it. I'm not really tripping off of wins. I just want to see improvement. I want to see the team getting better and starting to become a team that looks like the NFL team and not a Division III NCAA team. But I'll bring Dugenay on to give his take real quick before you get out of here. What do you think about Dugenay? You think it's more important to get wins or see a better product on the field? How do you feel about the team going forward, especially with them naming Haskins the starting quarterback going forward?
Man, you know how I feel about this whole thing, brother. I want to see the product improve. This is all a maturation process for everyone. It would have started from the beginning if the former coach would have done that at the beginning of the season. You got so many young players on this team, and players that I've had an ability to see come through their process, through the draft process, through the Senior Bowls, the East-West Shrine games and stuff like that. And I say it over and over and over again. And I know, the record doesn't show, and a lot of times some of the performances haven't shown, but this team has a ton of talent, a lot of great young talent, and a lot of talent that may not be starters, but they're good pieces to have, supplemental pieces to greater pieces that the Redskins could potentially pick up in the future. It's all about the product on the field and growing this team in the right direction. That's what's important. I know a lot of it's down the middle with fans on whether you want to see wins or whatever. But I mean, this team's 1-8, dude. Who gives a crap if they win another 5 games? What does that do? Make you feel better, massage your ego a little bit? I mean, look at what's being done on the field, from the quarterback position to the most lowliest person, that's just a guy who may just play special teams. Like, those little things are important. That's why, teams like the 49ers, I'm not even going to talk about the Patriots, but obviously they've been doing it for years. You look at teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at the teams like the Atlanta Falcons this past weekend. Looked like a totally different team by making some wholesale changes. There's some teams that stepped up this weekend and got wins that, could be considered around 500, whatever. It's all about progression. And right now this team's 1-8. They're not going anywhere. So even if they were to win out and be an 8-8 football team, that looks good on paper. But what are you doing to continue that given success for years to come? What are we building in for the future going forward? And that's what's important, especially with the interim head coach and some of the uncertainties of who's going to be there. Really, I would think you have to take an honest assessment of your guys as Bruce Allen stands, or whether he stays here or not. So there's a lot of things going on. So you definitely want to just see growth with the team as a whole. If they win a couple games in that process, then that's just icing on the cake. But as long as they're looking good and showing progression and working towards being a consistently good football team, then that's where I think most fans should have their big chips pushed to the middle of the table for. And that's what my chips are pushed to the middle of the table for. It's just to see the growth throughout the team and these young players, so that they can be what we want them to be in the future, and so this team can be successful for years to come.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Dujanet, and I'm actually really happy that they finally announced him to be the starter. I thought anything after week 8 to week 10 was sort of fair game, somewhere in that range. So, we're past that. The season is done in terms of trying to make the playoffs. Let's see what we've got, because, we may have a really good draft pick. So, I want to know whether we need to draft, and I think we probably should still draft another quarterback behind him. But, at what level do you draft him? I mean, if you don't think that he can mature enough over the next 2 years, then obviously you have to spend a higher round draft pick on another quarterback. If you think that he can become the quarterback of the future, then maybe you go with like a lower round quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes throughout the rest of this season. But I'm happy to hear what you're saying, because I agree. I think that we just got to see progression each week, and hopefully the Redskins will improve. And it might take a year or two. I want to caution Redskins fans. They're not going to be the Nationals or the Capitals the last 2 years within a year. It might take 2 to 3 years, and we got to go through a rebuild, and we have to do it right, so we can have sustained growth through our future. But I'm going to jump off and let you guys continue your conversation and have a little bit of dinner myself. But Carol, thanks as always for a great show, and hope that you guys continue to have a wonderful podcast.
All right, Robbie, appreciate it, man. You enjoyed dinner, and talk to you later on, man. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about with these Redskins coming up. We already talked about Haskins being named the starter, which we talked about. He started against Buffalo. I was saying against the Jets. So, hey, we got the best of both worlds. He's definitely going to have some growing to do, some maturing to do, and hopefully, as I mentioned last week when we were talking about this on a shortened show, that I hope that he looks more comfortable out there with this time, knowing that he was going to go in there bye week, extra days to prepare. And I'm just hoping that he looks more comfortable out there, and like that he's, not making bad decisions, holding on to the ball too long, and trying to force things when he doesn't take what's there, because that's not a good sign for any young aspiring quarterback. But let's get into the numbers real quick before we get into this upcoming matchup with the Jets. As we know, the Redskins won a bye week. Jets ended up beating the Giants yesterday, which killed my pick'em. I've had 2 bad weeks in a row in fantasy and pick'em, and I picked the Giants to beat the Jets. But
at least you didn't forget.
You forgot totally, bro.
I forgot this week. I was so busy, I forgot this week, and I only was able to pick the last, the 4 o'clock game.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even realize. I normally am really good about that, and I right in the middle of the 12 o'clock games or 1 o'clock games, 12 o'clock for me here at Central Time. And I look, and I'm like, I didn't make any picks this week? Like, how is that?
Oh,
So
wow.
I pulled a Carol and forgot. So.
Hey, man, I've been staying on it, man. I've been doing it on Wednesday and then updating throughout the week. I took your advice, man. I did it early and then update throughout the week, man. So maybe I should have texted you to remind you to do yours like you did me.
Exactly.
My bad, bro. My bad. I thought you was rocking and rolling because I done had 2 bad weeks. I'm like in 3rd place now. I had a chance of being 1st. And the last 2 weeks then killed me, so I don't even want to talk about it.
This week killed me for sure. Exactly. I don't want to talk about it because I'm stupid.
I feel you. Well, we got the San Francisco-Seattle game just kicked off. It's 0-0. San Francisco with the ball on their 40. What's the down and distance? 1st and 10. They're looking to get on the board. And Josh Gordon is making his first appearance as a Seattle Seahawk after getting cut by the Patriots. So I'll give any updates and any scoring in that game also. But let's go ahead and go over these numbers for the Redskins. And whenever we go over the offensive numbers, I always wonder, because the Redskins are ranked 30th or 31st in most categories, I always wonder who the 32nd team was. Well, they play the Jets next week, and I found out who the 32nd team was when it comes to offense. The Redskins offense generates 259 yards a game, which is 30th, 169 yards passing, which is 31st, 89.4 yards rushing, which is 25th, 12 points a game, which is 32nd, and third down, 24.2%, which is 31st. Now the Jets, they average 231 yards of total offense, which is 32nd. They average 164 yards passing, which is 32nd. They have averaged 67 yards rushing a game, which is 31st. They average 14 points a game, which is 30th. And third down conversion, they 23.7%, which is 32nd. So, as I said, I always check out the Redskins stats, and I always wonder who was that 32nd team. Well, we just found out it was the Jets, and then they mess around and beat the Giants, who the Redskins lost to. So, I don't know what that means. Dujane, can you unravel some of this offensive ineptitude with these two teams? Because the numbers don't lie, and their records speak for themselves. The Jets are 2-7, and the Redskins are 1-8. Both are last in their respective divisions. What do you say about these two lack of offensive teams, I guess I should say?
Oh, man, I'll start with the Jets first. I love New York coming into the season. They got a lot of good pieces. Unfortunately, though, their coach is Adam Gase. Again, a guy who I felt like should have never even gotten a sniff at being a head coach, let alone get a New York team in a big market job like that. I think Darnold being out with that mono is a little bit of a problem and has been a problem for them. A reason why they may have struggled because they didn't have, they were on their backup to the backup at some point because their backup wasn't playing very well. With that said, and not having their starter in there, I think that plays a little bit of a role. But then when you look at them when he did get back, obviously he'd been out a while. It's a little rusty, but they're still struggling. I still say I attribute that to the coach. I'm was not a fan of Gates and the Dolphins. I felt like he was the problem there, and I know he got a little bit of a pass because that's another organization who's a bigger dumpster fire at the top than the Redskins. And here we are, and we're seeing the same results. So I give a little bit to injuries and losing your quarterback, and I give a little bit to the coach there of why that offense is not very good. In the words of the old ball coach, not very good. I think that's it. With the Redskins, again, you've got, you had two average quarterbacks. When Case got hurt, it really took away a lot of things. I think when he got hurt, I think you saw it. I think the fans saw it. He's seeing a lot of pressure and not seeing down the field. His inaccuracies begin to show up. His love for turning the ball over and giving the opposing team gifts started to show. Apparently, that hand injury was really affecting his ability to hold the ball, hence why he was fumbling it a lot. With that being said, though, when he did have the opportunities, I mean, we talked about this ad nauseum. If you're going to have those two guys between Colt and Case do what they did, then, I mean, you can't get any worse with your first-round draft pick. Can't really get any worse. So I think it's consistency at the quarterback position for this offense, for the Redskins. I know a lot of things are said about them not having talent, and only having one wide receiver and Scary Terry, and no tight ends. And, the no tight end thing, sure, that might play a little bit into it, but I think there's just a little bit too much offensive talent. I still like a Paul Richardson. He's not consistent enough, but he has been making plays over the last couple of weeks. I think another unused guy who hasn't been in there is Calvin Harmon. I talked about him since the Senior Bowl. I believe this guy, with his height, he's not nearly as fast as Terry, but again, another guy who runs exceptional routes, and when the ball gets on his hands, he brings it in. And I think he's a guy that needs to get more time. I'm not really sure what to think of Trey Quinn, but he has made plays, not enough of them, but he has definitely made some for them. I definitely at this time, don't think he's going to be the guy that replaces, Jamison Crowder by any means. But, I think it's the big word for both of these offenses is inconsistency. And both can be contributed to quarterback position and lacking of having other consistent players at other positions. And I think that consistent players at other positions is more of a Redskin thing than it is a Jets thing, because to me, the Jets is kind of head-scratching to look at the guys they have on the roster and to see the lack of production. When you start seeing a lack of production, I understand it's Adam Gates' first year and all, blah, 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 but, his track record ain't great. So I think that's why these teams are sitting at the bottom of the league when it comes to offensive production.
Yeah, with the wide receiver situation, I mean, when you have different quarterbacks coming in, you had flux at the offensive line's position. You had a coach that was doing 3 and 5 and 7-step drops when he shouldn't be. So, I mean, it's going to be progression. It's going to take time. You mentioned Kelvin Harmon. We saw Sims get in there at some of the wide receiver plays against Buffalo. So I'm hoping that, Callahan is getting comfortable. O'Connell, getting, his groove, trying to find plays, trying to find go-to plays. Because that's one thing we never had, a play that they can go to when things were going bad, that they can say, hey, we can at least get 4 or 5 yards on this play to try to, get the momentum going back in our favor. So, I mean, with the injuries that they've had, you got Geis coming back. We see reports that AP still going to be the main guy. Geis going to come in to spell him. You still got Chris Thompson out. You got the wide receiver trying to find out, who they are. You got McLaurin out there doing it. You got a new rookie quarterback that's still trying to find his way, that had limited starts in college. So there's a lot of moving pieces that folks are expecting a quick turnaround, or things to just work all of a sudden because you put a new quarterback out there, you got a new coach. Nah, it's going to take time for this team to, get that rhythm. They didn't have one before. So I'm wondering why folks think all of a sudden that they're going to have one now, when the foundation that their offense was built on was flawed in the beginning. And now you have a more NFL-minded coach that's, trying to do things to the strength of the team and put the team in a position to actually win. Unfortunately, they haven't, but they're playing better. They're looking, trying to find their niche, trying to find what they can hang their hat on, to, be an offensive team that can actually, maybe get a first down on third down instead of always having to punt and making Tressway look like the MVP of the team, because he's always, booming the ball. He has a 48-yard net average. That's crazy for a kicker that kicks as much as he punter that kicks. Yeah, that punches as much as he does for the Redskins, and he's consistent at doing that. Unfortunately, he's the most consistent player on the team, but yet he's the punter. So, I mean, it's going to me, it's more of a defensive thing, that the defense, I mean, even though they have been putting the team in position, the offense in position to score, getting turnovers and, giving them a short field, Is the defense got to start looking at this like, all right, look, we get our hands on the ball, we got to take it to the house, because the offense ain't doing jack. So we got to get points for the team, and we got to keep points off the board. So I'm looking for the defense to hopefully be able to step up like that this week against the Jets with their, some of their offensive issues. Even though we saw Jamison Crowder yesterday, he's still one of my favorite players. I feel like he can be a quality slot guy. I don't know about outside, but he can definitely be a quality slot guy. He had 2 touchdowns yesterday.
Definitely.
Yeah, so, it's going to be an interesting matchup on the offensive side. Can Redskins, not get penalized, and are the refs going to call an equal game, call holding on the Redskins? You got to call another team, too. You can't just keep being one-sided. But it's going to be interesting to see what this team does coming out of the bye week, especially with the rookie starting and him hopefully trying to get some type of chemistry with McLaurin with some of the stuff they had going on at Ohio State back in their college days.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point, Carol. You think about it, and you think about it too, and talk about the Jets coaching, but really, the Redskins coaching needs to be thrown in that mix as well. I think regardless of who you had at quarterback, you had an offensive system that just right now doesn't work with the personnel that you have, the young personnel that you have, and then for what you like to do. You don't really have the quality tight ends to try to feed off a lot of what the former coach liked to do. And so I don't think adding Haskins in was going to improve the product greatly, because you still had it was too lopsided between the running pass, hence getting off the field really quickly in just, maybe 10-second clip. Maybe you might be out there for about a minute or two, but most of the time it was about 50 seconds or so. You go 3 and out pretty quickly, and then next thing you know, your defense is out there. And I think those things also play a role, because I really do believe, I don't think Callahan is the coach of the future by any means. At least I don't know if I say that yet or even remotely say that, but the team is better. It's balanced. He preached balance from the beginning, and I think you have to agree that things are moving in the right direction. Now they have to take the handcuffs off a little bit, and I feel like over the last couple of games when they had the rookie start, and even when he's come out there in the most god-awful situation and had to come out there because of injury, and I think you know what this looks like. And it's not to insult any of the fans by any means, but not all the time people know what that looks like. But you ever looked at an offense and think that they're trying to protect him by what they're calling? It's not the quarterback that's doing it. It's the guys on the sideline who are making the calls, trying to protect the quarterback from making a mistake, which is honestly the worst thing that you can do, because now that guy is in there. He's not only already he doesn't want to make a mistake, but now you're calling plays to make him not make a mistake, and he can't be natural in what he does as a quarterback. And if that means he takes shots down the field and he makes a mistake, then he makes a mistake. Like, he's a rookie. There's things that are going to happen. I mean, we watched Daniel Jones do that a lot this weekend, and yet still was in the game. So, I think there's some stuff to that as well, and those things have to be thought about when it comes to this football team. Coaching played a part in that. I think they're better off, but now, like you said, bye week, we've had some time, implement, and let's just take the handcuffs off this guy. Let's take the Ferrari out for a real test drive. I don't want to putt around and drive with my foot off the gas and not touching it and just letting it coast around and say I'm driving it. No. I want to go out on Route 50 headed towards Annapolis, and I want to get off the exit, and I want to put the pedal through the floor, and I want to see what this car can do. So it's time for the Redskins to see what this car can do, and let Haskins be who he is, And if he makes a mistake, then dadgummit, he makes a mistake. And we live to see another day and go out and try to improve on that. And so if they can do that, I think you'll see a more comfortable Haskins. And I think you'll see better play. Now, I thought out of every performance, most of the performances here, that you could see things that you can take away from and say that this guy is improving. And I thought his last game was very much improving. But they have to take the handcuffs off of this guy and let him, let's drive the car. I don't want to drive. I don't want to act like I'm driving the car. I want to drive the car. And it's time for the Redskins to drive this car and find out what it can do. And if they can do that and open this thing up and do what he likes to do, and that's go down the field, I think you'll see a pretty decent product, and I think people will be happy with what they'll see, whether it's a win or a loss. But I think you make an exceptional point there about coaching and about coaching with this football team and how it has had a huge play in how this team is operated on the field come game day. And I don't think that should be overlooked either.
No doubt. Very valid points. Let's talk about the defensive numbers from both of these teams. Redskins give up 366 yards a game, which is 21st. 230 through the air, which is 14th. 136 on the ground, which is 28th. They give up 24.3 points a game, which is 20th. And still giving up 50% on third down conversions, which is horrible, and 31st. The Jets' defense is a little bit better. They're giving up 344 yards a game, which is 15th. 262 yards through the air, which is 26th. Only giving up 81 yards on the ground. And defense is giving up 26.4 yards on the 24.6 points a game, which is 25th, and they're giving up 45% on third down conversion. So both of these teams, have talent. They aren't able to get off the field on third down. They haven't been getting turnovers, and both defenses are looking to make a statement against a subpar offense. So I'm hoping that this team, after having a week off to scout this Jets team and seeing them play yesterday, that they can hold them down, get some turnovers, maybe even get a pick six from the young quarterback. But Darno, he's been in a groove lately. I actually cut him on my fantasy football and started Drew Brees. And Brees didn't even give me a touchdown, damn it. I'm sorry. I got thrown into a fantasy football league, and it was 0-5. I'm 3-2 on my last 5. I was trying to bring this team back from the cusp, and it's kind of frustrating. But it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup for these defenses against these inept offenses. So I think it's going to be who can force the mistake from the young quarterback that can turn into points, because neither offense can really score. So I think these defenses are going to have to score this game. What do you think about these two defenses?
I like the potential of the Redskins defense over the Jets. They couldn't stop a pass if they knew exactly what the play was. I mean, and where the ball was going. I mean, they're that bad. And if Daniel Jones can get some of the things that he got in that game, then I don't see why Haskins can't. Especially if you're drawing up a playbook that's going to allow him to play to his strengths and allow him to play ball. There's enough weapons on this team, wide receiver wise, and I think at this point you have to give Paul Richardson some credit. I thought he was very involved in the Buffalo game, no matter whether they weren't that great moving the football. But he's been a target, and now they can find a way to see it. It's all about everybody's like, oh well, just go out there and line them up, and we should be able to go and get Terry, and then all of a sudden Terry's not getting the ball. Well, people are noticing this guy now, and they're going to take him away. Well, now you have to come up with a little bit more creative schemes to get your guy open that you want to get the ball, or you need to start using some guys that are able to make plays and get them the ball. I think that the Redskins can take advantage of that defense, and we know it. I want to see the young guys play, and I don't care what he decides, but I think Josh Norman's time is done. I think it's time for him to take a seat on the bench and ride this out for the rest of the year. And if you want to come in any spot, that's cool. But I think Jimmy Moreland or somebody else needs to start. And I don't care about the mistakes. Can't be any worse than having a veteran out there that you're paying a ton of money to go out there and do the same thing. Don't get me wrong. I understand some things are schematic. And I know everybody feels like same thing with D'Angelo Hall. Everybody's talking about this guy getting burned all the time. And it wasn't D Hall on every instance. But there's a lot of cases here where this guy is facing the line of scrimmage and he still can't cover anybody at all. And we just can't have those types of mistakes. Those, you look at these plays that they're gaining on third down and look who's involved in. Very often, very seldom, it's a Cole Holcomb or some linebacker that just got exploited on a crossing route and they get a first down. Are they going to Dunbar? Hell no, they're not going to Dunbar. But they're showing up attacking that high-priced Josh Norman every chance. And sure, he's there to make a tackle, but it's still a first down. The guy doesn't even have enough confidence in himself now to even play press coverage. Playing 10 yards off all the time. Because he doesn't have enough confidence to play press coverage. Because he's worried about getting beat. Can't have a guy out there doing that, man. You just can't. You want to play a spot? Fine. But I think if they put some of these young guys out there, these young corners they got out there, give them opportunity, put them in the best chance, and the best defensive scheme that's going to give them the best chance to win, and give their young players the best chance to win on an individual level, I think you can have more success on third down. So I think you can eliminate some of these 3rd and 12s where they catch the ball for 15 yards on Josh Norman. And then you're looking at, he maybe missed the tackle, and then, you got to have a Landon Collins to come in, or you put Landon Collins in a bad position because of it, and he looks bad. It's all about that. And I think if you're going to go young and you're going to do this, you need to do that on the other end as well. Because right now, it ain't about winning games. You got to find out what you got in some of these other guys. And I think some of these other young guys are hungrier and have made more plays than he has. Nothing personal, man. Nothing personal. But those weak links from veterans are costing these young guys, abilities to win on third down, to win on situational football, because a veteran who shouldn't be making these types of idiotic mistakes has consistently been making these mistakes. It's not accountability, right, Carol? I mean, this is a damn good culture, right? So if it's a damn good culture and it got accountability, then he shouldn't even be in there because he hasn't done anything all year. He's had maybe like one game, maybe, to follow that up with complete and utter trash. So if this defense wants to win, it has the ability to win. We know that. We've seen this defense week after week, especially in the front seven, get better and better since Callahan's insertion as the interim head coach. So the back end has got to get better. And that also comes into play with Monte Nicholson as well. Health and inconsistency. I need somebody who's going to be consistent on that back end. And if that means that I have to sacrifice a little bit by putting Apke back there, then I will. And I'm not saying he's great. I'm just saying somebody else has got to get a shot. I mean, Apke came in and got an interception, making the right read and the right play on the football. And that's what you need. You got to understand and know where they need to be, and at least in position to make a play. And if the guys around them aren't, okay, but that can be fixed. But you can't have your key guys being out of position that you rely on and consistently making big gaps that cost this team not small yards. We're talking about explosive plays that oftentimes turn into touchdowns, turn into 7 points. Can't be done. And then when you got a team that's struggling like this, you need all hands on deck, and you need your guys, best guys that are hungry and ready to get after it and make a play. And Josh ain't been that guy, and neither has Monte. So accountability, damn good culture, that's what you would do. But we all know I'm being sarcastic with that, so whatever. But that's what I would do. And I think this defense can win have all hands on deck, and we're going to have hungry players that are going to be consistent and be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, and are confident and going to make plays and not going to make a mistake and let that ruin them for the rest of the game and get inside their head. So I think that's what's important. And that's, I mean, I'm not just saying that for the defense. That's both sides of the ball with this football team. So I definitely like the Redskins defense. I know that was a long-winded answer, but I like the Redskins with this defensive thing. I think they have the best ability on both sides of the ball to be able to take advantage of things. But we all know they just haven't been able to put it together because you got people out there that just can't seem to get it together and make plays consistently. And it's not even big plays. It's just the basic crap. You need to get back. You need basic fundamentals. And some guys just aren't playing with that. And I'm sorry, if you're not doing it, then that means your playing time getting cut for somebody who does. Am I wrong?
No, I see no flaw in your logic. It seems, that makes sense to me. It will be interesting going forward to see if we'll see some of the, older guys like you talk about Norman, not playing as much and getting some of these young guys out there. I totally agree with you. Season is pretty much over with. Might as well get them out there in some live game action against different competition and different situations and scenarios to get those guys experiencing and look forward to next season going forward what they're going to do. So I definitely agree and echo the sentiment. We'll see what happens. Like we mentioned, they have the Jets this weekend, who's also going, through some flux and some bad times. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what this team does. With Josh, it's probably the end of his Redskins career here. I know he has another, year or two on his contract. They're probably going to, cut him in the offseason, try to save some money in the salary cap with his payment coming due. We got the whole Trent situation. Excuse me, I don't even want to get into that because I made my I said my piece last week about that whole situation, and I really don't even feel like beating a dead horse. And it's just going to be interesting to see where this team goes. Like you said, we know that Bill Callahan isn't the end-all solution. I'm hoping to see Kevin O'Connell take some strides in the play calling side of the things, because we saw what McVay did when he was here. We saw what Cal did when he was here, and we see those same things in the offense that they're running now. So I want to see a little bit more from, from O'Connell. There's been some clickbait saying that Callahan is handcuffing him and yada, yada, yada. But like I mentioned before, it's only been 2-3 weeks, almost a month since the changeover has happened. And, we're going to see how things go. I'm not of that mindset of everybody else of, yada, yada, yada. They're not playing well. Fire this person. The owner needs to be replaced, yada, yada, yada. I said last week, and I don't know if folks tuned in and heard it, but I'm going to say it again. Go do your Redskins history. This team had a good 10 to 15 year stretch and won 3 Super Bowls. Other than that, what you see is what you get is what this franchise has been. So if you talking about the glory days and all that good stuff, you're talking about a 10 to 15 year stretch. Go research and find out the Redskins history, and then you'll sit there like I am, like, this is just something that's regular because this is what this franchise has been from the beginning. So I see some positive things coming with Callahan there. The old school feel, he can relate to the young guys and the old guys. Hopefully Kevin O'Connell can find his way. Maybe he'll be the guy to take the reins. And, at the end of the day, we don't know. But it can't be as bad as everybody portrays it to be. You got two choices. Ride with the team and shut up, or go jump ship and talk trash somewhere else. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're a diehard fan and talk trash at the same time. That's just my opinion. But, Dujane, we're going to get ready to get out of here a little bit early. Let the folks know where they can find you before I end this YouTube and Facebook live feed and get up out of here.
And everything is sportsjourney.com. If you want to chat with me personally, you can hit me up. Twitter, NotPlan21 on everything, though. It's usually a little bit easier on Twitter to get at me and chat it up. That's all the platforms, and you can find the podcast on the website. You can find the podcast on the SportsOTHP website. So all good stuff, man. All good stuff. And just look it up. Love enjoying talking with the fans, and talk with some of you guys who listen to the show regular. It's always a blast, man, and you guys are always fun and well versed in your Redskins football. able to talk with you guys who are knowledgeable about this football team.
I appreciate it, bro. As always, we love your expertise and your insight and taking the time out to call in. Appreciate it. You have a good night. I'm about to get up out of here and watch some of this San Francisco game because they just went up 10-0 on Seattle, and they looking like they the truth. They look like they the truth, being the only undefeated team in the NFC right now. So, and I just mentioned Kyle.
Sure do.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, ex-Redskin offensive coordinator that maybe should have still been here before they hired that other guy. But that's another day for another time. We're not even going to go there. All right, do your day, man. I'll holler at you later on, man. You be easy.
All right, brother.
All right,
Thank
later.
you, man. Thanks as always.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Always, bro. I'll holler at you later on. Later. All right, we about to get ready to get up out of here. We got about 10 minutes left till the top of the hour. As I mentioned, we got the San Francisco-Seattle game on. You got the Capitals in Arizona at the second intermission. Caps still down 3-1. I believe they're in a power play coming into the third period. Hopefully they can get a goal to make it a one-goal game to try to get back to even this game up and continue this winning streak and point streak that they've been, their 11-game point streak, 7-game winning streak. Hopefully they can keep the things going. San Francisco look like they got things pretty much in control in the first quarter so far. So before we get out of here, as always, I'd like to thank you guys for checking us out, tuning in. Go check out all of our content on SportsOTHP.com. You can go check out, my YouTube channel, Carol Porter III. That's 3 eyes, not the number 3. With all of our content, I've been streaming YouTube Live and Facebook Live for the last few weeks, so be sure to go check it out, share it, let folks know what's going on with Sports on the Hill podcast on TRU RADIO Network. We got some good things going on. Make sure you come down to Martini's next Sunday, NFL game day. I'll be streaming live down there before the Jets game, 725 Katy Drive, Martini's Restaurant and Lounge. I'm sure they're down there tonight doing the NFL game day, watching the same game that we are. Go down and they got $5 specials on drinks, on wings, and some other things. So go check it out. Cold beer, good food, good crowd. Go hang with the folks down at Martini's because they got some good things popping off down there. And before we get out of here, I guess I'll find the ending track to get up out of here. We play some Roots for the music break. Let's see, where do I want to go to end the show? You want to stick with the Roots? Or no, I'm going to go with some Talib Kweli, Blast. Holler at you next week. CP3, live from the lab, Sports on the Hill podcast, TRU RADIO Network. Stay tuned for so much more. DC Sports Writer Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do.
Let me practice. Talib, Kweli, I can't say it, that's why.
Yeah, you pronounce my name. Any questions? I bring many lessons with my man High Tech, and he from the Natty. We make sky crash, feel the fly trap. Get your hands up like a hijack. Fists in the air. Keep them there like natural mystic or smoke when the slip lit. It's a revolutionary word. They ask me what I'm writing for. I'm writing to show you what we're fighting for. Say Talib and Talib. It's hard, try spelling it phonetically. Not to just let it be like Nina Simone. Don't listen, B. Even when we suffer losses, I count the victory. Sometimes it's far in between. I'm sad to say you got my brain crowded like sunset on a Saturday. I know my son's wet because his dad's away. Stop crying, be strong for your mama is what I had to say to my little man in the army. Start the party, my crew hot, feel these two shots like the blast from a double barrel shot. And it's got to be the man hot tech, quality, who'll make you rock the party. Party, my crew hot, feel these two shots like the blast from a double barrel shot. It's got to be the man hot tech, quality.
I remember when it all started. Back in the day when me and mom first party. Tech from the beginning, I stayed advanced. A young chameleon adapt to any circumstance. Big gang, yeah, cause never been a lazy nigga. Stayed on my hustle, concentrate to get the paper bigger. Stay focused, while other cats stay hopeless. While niggas stay high, I stay lower. Stacking my chick to get a 4 points, but this shit ain't over. Going for the gusto, keep getting that provo. It's high tech. On the track like Flojo. Bet you ain't even know I had photos. Yo, mate, you got your body. Got the party. Crew hot, 52 shots like a smash from a double barrel shot. Got to be the man hot check. Got to be. Yeah.